everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Late Night Brew, where we talk brews first and then we get around to the business stuff afterwards. I'm Rabbit Botanica, also known as Buck, and tonight on the show with me, we got Aaron Parker. Thanks for joining, Aaron.
Good morning, good evening, depending on where you are, right?
Right, exactly. And there's a brew and a drink for every time of day, isn't there?
Yes, time of day, given it's 11 a.m. here, I'm using you as an excuse to have a beer.
Happy to help. And we're talking Igel, forgot to mention that, but what are you having with me?
So I've got a Cooper's Pale Ale.
Very nice.
So reason I've got this one today is it's a pretty unassuming beer. Like it's pretty sure Cooper's is in Melbourne, I think. Maybe don't quote me on that. But it's a pretty it's an easy drink. I definitely like it in summer. So I go stick it in the freezer about 20-30 minutes before I'm going to drink it. And just so it's just that nice and just icy, and then after I've been out on a hot day or done the mowing, gardening or something like that, then that's the perfect beer, I think, for quenching your thirst.
I love those. I've got a Barrio Blonde Ale. It's a brewery in the city south of me, from Tucson, Arizona.
Okay.
So all about trying to help out the local brewery scene. So it's a good blonde, easy drinking. Same thing of it's got good flavor. It's light enough that it's extra cool and refreshing as it gets hot. And thankfully, summer is finally breaking here. So I'm looking forward to shifting to the more winter beers of porters and stouts. So
Nice.
So Igel. This is I would say a relative newcomer. So what is it? To bring everyone
Relative
up.
newcomer. So Igel, the company, has actually been around for quite a while, right? So Igel, I think, has been around for about 20 years. I think what's kind of new is their strategy. So their go-to-market strategy is a little bit different. So Igel used to very much be a hardware vendor, and then they're taking their software to make sort of thin client solutions for the hardware that they were selling. But what the change that they're seeing is recently, I don't know, past 3 or 4 years, maybe even a little bit more than that, is that they've been able to take a lot of that investment that they've got in their software and make sure that software runs on pretty much anything.
So it's a ready-made. You plug it into whatever device you want to use and hit the ground running.
Yeah, pretty much. So Igel, I'll give you the marketing term, call it a next-gen Edge OS, right? What that means is it's software that turns any x86 endpoint into sort of a secure lockdown device that you can then go and access some sort of workspace. So that might be VDI, Citrix, Horizon, WVD, even Parallels desktop.
Really?
Even VNC, if you happen to be accessing something via VNC. But cloud's anything these days, right? So it could be that session could be wholly within the browser. It doesn't have to be accessing a Windows desktop. It could be a web application, and I want to provide that access to that application from some secure endpoint, even though it might just be in a web browser.
So x86, that just means any kind of standard processor.
Anything today, anything Intel or AMD, right? So can't run on a Raspberry Pi yet, but something like that. Even if it's running sort of an Intel or an AMD processor, you can run it on there. So I got an Intel NUC sitting here. It could be something purpose-built, a device sitting on a factory floor that's maybe fanless because there's a lot of dust in that environment. So you can go to your vendor of choice that provides you that type of hardware, or I can do something sort of standard off the shelf, right? Even just go an IBM, Dell, small form factor PC. Like Dell do this one where you've got the monitor and the PC sits in the monitor.
Box. Yeah.
Yeah. So you slot that, you keep the monitor, you slot the PC module out, and you go and stick in a new one. So really, it's about hardware choice, but then standardizing on the software that you go and deploy through Igel.
So it can really find its niche, especially now in the post-COVID world, as we're calling it, of hey, everyone has to be remote workforce now. You can drop ship them your Igel, basically boot USB and say plug this in, boot off of it, and connect to Citrix, and you're ready. Or your preferred remote.
Yeah, pretty much. So I've got let's say there's a few scenarios, right? One of those is home workers, contractors, or something like that. They bring their own hardware, but you want to ensure that the environment that they're using to access your company systems from is sort of standardized, and it's just going to work. So here I can boot off a USB boot device like that. I can put the Igel software on top of that, and give that to the person. Say boot off this. It's cloud managed, so it has a centralized management tool that I can now I can manage that device wherever it is. So if I hand them that USB stick, that's already got the software on it that I can boot off it, and it's got the management configuration in it.
Oh wow!
So I can connect to my home Wi-Fi network, and boot into say Citrix Workspace app, VMware Horizon client application, or a WVD client app. Or even, as I was saying before, like a browser. So I know that if I give them that tool, that they can boot off it, they have a consistent environment, and I can take away that any sort of pain, or I have confidence in that. Yeah, exactly. Just know, yep, you can get access to your stuff if you boot off this.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I know there's been I remember there was a big push a bit back trying to get to more of that kind of prepackaged. You drop it in, you plug it in, you boot it up, it grabs its management from a centralized. I remember there was a push for that for a while. So, I mean, this sounds like to me, it's a pretty cool next step.
Yeah. So the other use case, we talk about like the hardware of choice. So that could also be hardware that you already have.
Yeah.
So let's say I've got a fleet of desktops or even older laptops that are out in my environment. Today, maybe I've given that to someone to take home, but typically they might be desktops sitting on a desk somewhere, or they are laptops and they're running Windows today. But those devices get to their end of life. Either it's because I sweat them for 3 to 4 years, but at the end of that, realistically, it's still a useful device. It's still got processor, RAM, and disk that functionally still works, right? So I can convert that device. I don't have to boot off a USB stick. I can put the operating system on the device, and then again, centralized management, and then that gives me access to my workspace, which is provided through something like VDI or through a web browser, right? So sweat the life of that device that you've already got.
Yeah, so it's all of those. I mean, I cut my teeth in desktop support, and I can remember more laptops and desktops sitting in shelves, stacked up until it's around time to, donate them, or they're piecemealed out for parts to keep other things limping along. So I mean, that's huge. Just because I know that there's tons of hardware sitting around, usually depending.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, I want to replace those with thin clients. Well, don't go and buy the thin clients. Just reprovision the software that's on them, the OS that's on it. Now becomes sort of a lockdown OS that gets access to your stuff, and I don't have to go and spend more money on hardware when I've got perfectly good hardware already sitting there.
Yeah, there's already monitors. I guarantee there's a plethora of mice and keyboards, and I mean, even just for like hoteling and gas stations have it of, hey, you need to work, pop over here, and you got your space and you're good.
Yeah, pretty much. Though actually, that's now that you say that, that's probably another good use case, right? Is that's I guess I could call it a POS terminal or some sort of dedicated terminal. So the Igel OS is pretty highly customized, right? So it includes a lot of plugins. So think VDI. We might do web conferencing like we're doing here on Teams.
Yeah.
I want to optimize that user experience. So I got a plugin for Teams on the client side. I got a plugin for Zoom. I got a plugin for a couple of vendors that we work with. So Login VSI and Device Trust. But Igel have got a pretty wide range of partners that include a lot of that client-side plugins that then optimize that user experience. So I could customize the look and feel of the operating system and the features available in it specifically for that use case. So yeah, lock it down. Boots up, just does one thing.
Yeah, that is absolutely brilliant. Unfortunately, though, that about wraps up our time today. So I know we couldn't get to the demo. So if you want to see the demo, definitely please reach out to us. Let us know. I hope you enjoyed yourself a great drink. And Aaron Parker, thank you very much for joining us. If you got questions, feedback, get in touch. The contact information is below. If you have a future idea of an episode that you'd love to hear about, let us know. And don't forget to subscribe because you never know when your suggestion's going to come up. Until next time, take care of yourself and have a great day. Cheers.